We are live. Hi,
Are we?
everyone. We are officially. And we are back. So, welcome, everyone. Long time no see. We were on a little bit of a hiatus. This is our once a month talk show known as Behold Lore. I am your host, Zoro from E3, here with my lore masters, Rhojin and HBfox. Now, if you are new here, since I know we have a lot of new people and it's been about a year and a half since we've last done this, this talk show, we have certain subjects that we focus on to talk about. And then usually we have a guest about halfway through the show. But I think with our first episode back, we're just going to dive into some lore and do that next time. And of course, we always give a heads up roughly about a week before if people have any questions, so people know what the topic is and who the guest is. So today we're going to talk about potentially two subjects here. One, we are going to talk about a continent known as Tahlendra, which is a continent Destiny Forge Campaign 2 took place. It is also the returning continent we are going to for our new upcoming Thursday show known as A New Era. So we're going to talk about that, and then if we have time, we're going to dive into a little bit about how a lot of things that have been revealed recently, over the last few months at least, across several different shows, how they're all starting to intertwine and cross their lore, whether it's been revealed or stuff that has been revealed but affected the past or future, depending on where the storyline is being taken place, depending on the show that is being ran at the time. So I think we're going to start off with Rhojin giving us a rundown of just the continent Tahlendra as a whole, just to give a little bit of a backstory before we go into it. And actually, what I'm going to do, I don't know why I didn't think of this until now. Unfortunately, I should have done this beforehand, to have a little map set up. So I'm just going to kind of throw it on the screen for just a moment. I'm going to cover our lovely faces for just a moment while people get to see this map. It is huge, so let me go ahead and just shrink it down. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just...
Campaign 2, you guys barely touched. Like, you guys barely scratched the surface of these continents.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm gonna cover our faces here for a moment, just so everyone can see the map fully.
How dare?
Yeah, I know, it's temporary.
Man, you're covering our faces and you're just like throwing like, explain the world.
This is probably our most massive continent we have had on this show, I think, at least if memory serves. It's massive.
Size-wise, it dwarfs every other campaign setting that we've had.
Indeed.
And just because like we've had like so many campaigns and whatnot now take place in like smaller centralized locations, I'm like, I don't like this. So I'm getting back to making larger maps for these games and everything, and I'm happy that we're coming back to Tahlendra for A New Era.
Which is great.
Because honestly, out of all of like the campaign settings we have, Tahlendra is my favorite. Just because there is such a rich history that was created by not only myself, but when we did the session 0 for campaign 2, everyone who was involved included areas on the map for that session 0, and we created like a little bit of history with it, and it just started spinning out from there. But yeah, this is like Tahlendra is pretty much the quote-unquote melting pot in regards to different like all of like the different like D&D races and everything. You could pretty much find not only everybody here, but at the same time like small pocket societies where one species or one culture is just like the dominating aspect over everything else. like Kamiroska, even though back when Kamiroska started, it was a magocracy that was pretty much held by a family, like a very long dynasty of high elves. And even after the crew went in campaign 2, killed a large majority of the royal family and destroyed a good portion of the city, as it has been, as it has gone through its do-over, it is still pretty much a cultural hub for the high elves. While they're not so domineering and like, oh, we are the best, everybody else is trash below us. It's still, it's still a center of magical study. It is still a font of magical power, and it is still a cultural area of significance for the high elves.
Indeed. Oh, and just to interrupt you for just a moment, just because we've got a couple of comments. Thank you very much. Yes, actually, our own HBfox is our cartographer. He's the one that makes all the maps for our campaigns. Rhojin kind of sets up a generalization of like, here's what I want, and then Fox brings it to life with this gorgeous art. So compliments and courtesy to HBfox for this map.
Add as well, the map of Tahlendra is going to be getting a significant facelift for the upcoming campaign.
Yeah, because there is not only like a visual facelift coming, there is a huge lore facelift, as well as certain areas of the map have changed over the time since we've last been here. I believe I said this is 160 AD that we're taking, that a new era's kicking off in.
Yeah.
I can check the channel because I did directly ask that question and you answered it. So
this is about 160 years after the culmination of the events of campaign 2, when the continuance of time kicked off once again. The timeline was no longer reset, and due to that, the hashtag fuck Vincent, exactly, the peoples and the areas of Tahlendra have began to evolve and to come into a new point, a new time of influence, and as power of the divine is starting to grow, as the gods have returned, and the new pantheon has finally set into place to where you now actually have working temples in cities to these new gods, to where clerics and paladins now have a focal point to be able to pray, to be able to know where their power comes from, instead of always questioning which lost god is allowing me to cast these spells, which, who am I following for this oath. It's like there is less confusion, and in such there is less chance for corruption for these for the individuals who are more focused on a spiritual lifestyle.
And this is one of the few continents that has a freer, I guess it's a freer continent for worship and the gods and the different races, unlike some other continents where it's very much like, oh, there's certain gods that are absolutely hated, or the gods don't exist, the Fae are gone. Like, this is the most diverse and open, most forgiving, I guess you could say, of religion and culture compared to our other continents. Sorry, Fox.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that with the emergence of these temples and prayer spots, that's really exciting for us as players, because now that starts to reopen the possibility of going to these temples for aid. I mean, classic D&D, if you needed a resurrection or a disease cured or something, you went to a temple and you paid them to do it. But we didn't really have that option because we don't know what's behind the temples we're going to, and that gets real sketchy. But now we'll have a better idea.
Yep. And in turn with that, because the age that Tahlendra is entering in when we kick off the start of a new era, it is a new age of adventure, a new age for exploration. There has been a significant development in making sure that individuals who can hone these powers, powers of the arcane, powers of the divine, are trained well enough to be able to not be a danger to themselves or a danger to others. There has been a sort of continent-wide guild that oversees this. The best way that I can explain it, for those of you who have played the Fable series, the Heroes Guild, it's something like that, to where if a child, you know, shows, because the way that I usually have it is in Tahlendra, children usually enter their apprenticeship age around the age of 12. They start, you know,
apprenticing.
They start pretty young. They start apprenticing under like a blacksmith, or, you know, they're learning how to manage the family business. For those children who want to go out, they want to be paladins, they want to be fighters, they want to be wizards, they want to explore deep catacombs and find glorious treasure and, you know, glory to their names. This guild has pretty much formed an overseeing council to make sure that no matter if you're good or evil or whatever, you have the training to be able to not be a catastrophe.
So it sounds like, rather than the kind of individual adventurer type guilds that we would occasionally come across in a city, now it's instead like one unified organization across the continent, which is really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's designed a lot like, a lot like a paladin order. Regardless of whatever classification a child chooses, they go to a specific city for the first couple years of their training to learn the basics, to like gain the knowledge of how to do things and how to look out things, how to survive. And then around 15 or 16, they are paired up with a senior member. They pretty much act like an apprentice or a squire. And they go out to the world and begin to learn the real world applications of what a hero, what an adventurer does. And then usually around anywhere from 20 to 22, depending on how advanced someone may be, how quickly they gain the ropes, they are given recognition from the guild as full-fledged adventurers, and they are pretty much given full reign to go do as they please. And it's definitely going to be interesting seeing how the new characters coming into a new era are shaped by this. That are shaped by their experiences with with being developed in these cities, and then going out with their senior members and then becoming full-fledged adventurers. With that said, I told you guys this before we went live. I am bringing back dungeon delves for a new era. We haven't really done many dungeon delves in the past couple campaigns or the past couple years. We did them in campaign 1. We did a couple of them in campaign 2. We had a couple of them. And then I started like slowly moving away from them. And it's like, nah, I'm going back to this. I'm going back to the delves. I'm going back to giving everyone the free reign to be able to explore through dungeons. Be a rogue, detect traps, disarm traps, be a fighter, set off the traps. And just
That's the fighter.
spend more time in an adventure than just, okay, you walk through the halls of a dungeon and you find the boss room. So be prepared for, if we're doing delves on a new era, be prepared for them to take a couple episodes.
So what you're saying is there will be plenty more strange puddles in dungeons for people to drink out of.
Yep.
And touch.
Yep.
Frickin' happened one time.
That's all it
Look,
takes, Zoro. One time is all it takes.
I love that you guys are going back to when Ash did that, when I think we need to pass that torch over to Realm, who is like, ooh, mysterious viscous liquid in a hag's den. Let's touch it, scoop it, and almost drink it. So...
Well, no, see, the difference is Realm touches everything. Ash was a lot more cautious than that. So when she was the one that did the dumb, it stood out.
Yeah. Ash was usually the one yelling at people not to touch things.
You know, I had a moment of weakness one time.
That's all
And it almost killed you. It almost killed you.
No, it just cursed me. It's great. It's fine. The demon prince in me. Whatever. It's cool. It's cool. But yeah, it's actually, that's something I think that would be great to talk about as well, going back and forth to what's to come as well as the past, because again, we're going back to this continent, and I did make a note for those of you who do want to know a little bit more about it. We technically have 2 places on our YouTube channel that you could check it out. Not quite as in-depth, but we do have episode 9 of Behold Lore, where we did a wrap-up episode of Destiny Forge 2, of certain things that have happened and what were shaped within the continent. Otherwise, if you want to see when we did the world-building part, if you go under our Destiny Forge Campaign 2 playlist, this is before we had to do a name change, before we started getting more serious and everything. The series was called Gibbering Mouthers at the time, so the title episode is called Gibbering Mouthers World Building, but it is the first episode in that playlist, and that is where you will learn more about what we were building, especially for those players who are going to be coming along on this journey with us who haven't experienced this before. So yeah, so check that out, episode 9 of our Destiny Forge 2 wrap up in Behold Lore, our playlist, and then in our Destiny Forge Campaign 2 playlist, the Gibbering Mouthers World Building. Highly recommend them for those who want to learn a little bit more. And actually, if you don't mind, both Rhojin and HBfox, I'm going to take us back to the map. If you don't mind kind of telling us, if whatever you're allowed to tell us at least, of what has potentially changed in the world before we go into it. For instance, I'm just going to throw it out here for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and bring that map back up once again. So with this little cursor I'm going to use, there is a spot. Of course, we all know right here, Kamiroska has had a lot of changes, both past, present, and future, with the campaigns. Other thing to note is right here we have Dagger Tree in the Maw, which was very heavy in our campaign as well. And then just a quick little tidbit. Oops, I tried the wrong thing. Right up here by the lake is Lumen, which is where the adventure is actually going to start. So Rhojin and Fox, if whoever wants to start off, is there going to be any significant changes or things that have developed since it's been 160 years? I'm sure a lot has happened.
Fox, I'm going to let you kick this one off because we've been having a bit of an interesting conversation about what's been happening in the Maw and in Dagger Tree these past 160 years.
Yeah, so glossing over something real quick that I do want to talk more in depth about either later or in another episode, and Rhojin touched on as well. The Pantheon is beginning to kind of reform and really find its place back in the lore of our world. Mm-hmm. And a big part of that is replacing the as we have called a number of times in some of our shows, false gods, which is the Faerun Pantheon. So we're starting to replace a lot of those gods with ones of our own creation, ones that have spawned from this world that they're a part of. And I think a lot of us know that I have a deep love for gnolls, and they do have a god of their own, Yinogu. And he played a fairly decent part in Destiny Forge, but an even deeper part in No Way Out. And Rhojin and I decided that it was time to get rid of him and replace him with one of our own. And that one of our own actually spawned from Destiny Forge Campaign 2. So we had the brief encounter with the librarian in that campaign, and Zale in particular had, let's say, a deeper encounter with the librarian, as the librarian did take the form of Yith for quite a while, and they had some children, and one of those children, Arta, became the next matriarch of Wraith's Cast and Daggertree. But this is a character that had the blood of like an eternal being in them. So as much as I, as a player, wanted to play as that character at some point because it would be a lot of fun, couldn't justify it. You can't let a player play a god. You just can't. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So Rhojin and I decided that instead, Arta was the perfect candidate to replace Yinogu. So that is a big change that has come to the gnolls of the Maw, in that they made a big spectacle of directly challenging Yinogu for his seat as the god of the gnolls, and had a rather glorious fight in the Colosseum that is a part of Wraith's Cast. And of course, Yinogu lost. And Arta has now taken that seat as the deity that looks over the gnolls. I won't say is the god of all the gnolls, because we have seen an emergence of gnolls that look to other deities for whatever it is that they happen to be looking for, and that's certainly permissible in the gnoll civilization. It's not something that's necessarily frowned upon, but Arta has taken that seat as the god overseer of the gnolls. So that's a big change.
To be honest,
another
it's probably
one
for the better, considering how the original god, if you look up the lore, is a terrible, like, very much, like, if you know anything about Daggertree and what Zale did was try to advance the gnolls. They're not these dumb warriors. Think kind of like Rex from Mass Effect, where it's like, we're not dumb warriors, we're not brainless, we're actually smart. Let's build and show the world that we are smarter and better. Better in the sense that we are better than our ancestors. We can grow, we can be civilized. And the previous god was very much set in its old ways of like, no murder and mayhem. So because they were able to advance everything, that's perfect.
Yeah, Yinogu's domain was very much like butchery, basically. Yeah. Butchery for the sake of butchery. Now, I wanted to keep a part of that, but I didn't want to necessarily just replace him with another Yinogu. Right. So Arta's domain is savagery and war, which is still very, very gnollish in nature, but it's not that mindless butchery that Yinogu presided over.
It's very much old traditions mixed with new traditions and trying to advance.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the way.
Which, as you mentioned, was what Zale was striving for when she was the matriarch, was to bring the gnolls into the rest of the world while still maintaining their identity as gnolls.
Don't currency and everything.
Yep.
Speaking of that, I have one question.
A long time. Let's say.
Is that elf still there?
Oh no!
I mean,
the elf slave.
we never talked about how old he is, but elves live a long time.
I mean, 160 years is a blip for elves, even if he was middle-aged, so...
Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
This is true. So he could still be
Yep.
there minting every coin.
They're like
in New Dagger
700
Tree.
to 1,000, so yeah.
Yep.
Still making them coins by himself.
So he listen, he got what he deserved. He did some bad stuff. As far as the rest of the area of the knolls go, and the map itself is concerned, well, we don't have it labeled, but there's a little icon for the Colosseum on the map that is a little northeast of Wraith's Cast, which, for those that weren't there and don't understand why we kind of also keep calling that area Dagger Tree, Wraith's Cast used to be called Dagger Tree.
That's
But
true,
Zale
yeah.
renamed it and founded a new Dagger Tree in the Mirage Desert. But the Colosseum itself is now a part of Wraith's Cast. On the new map, it's just going to be 1 point. Wraith's Cast has kind of migrated over in that direction a little bit. And we also see the divide between the Maw and the Mirage Desert. That was previously a really important location because it was the only safe path through the deserts. The divide no longer exists. That area is now where New Dagger Tree is located. And the residents of New Dagger Tree have kind of taken that responsibility of maintaining that path upon themselves. So New Dagger Tree is more of a melting pot than Wraith's Cast is, but it is still a gnoll settlement, and those gnolls are very much in charge of keeping that path open, keeping that path safe for travelers and for trade routes, and probably also using that location as an area for like taking people into the desert if they so wish to go into the desert for whatever reason, and being a guide for people if they need it. But it's all maintained by gnolls now. It's still got that open trade route through, so the East Coast can still connect with the West Coast, and that's all open. But aside from that, a lot of the secrets of the desert are still there. We touched on some of them in Null Way Out, but I do still have those details lying in wait because we also missed a lot of stuff in Null Way Out.
We need a Null Way Out too. I think we've talked about it.
I
been
do
on our
want to
plate.
do a Null Way Out too. There's a lot of fun things in that desert that I want to explore.
Which, for those of you who don't know, was our little mini offshoot campaign that took place after Destiny Forge Campaign 2, where we all played Null Pups. Very, very young, think like teenage pups, trying to just have a little adventuring party. They were just kind of innocent, yet not. It was just think of teenagers going, I'm going on an adventure, Mom. And, there's a lot of interesting things that happened.
Yeah, that's the campaign where I strictly said it's going to be in the desert and the desert only, and like 6 episodes later, you guys were in the Golden Peaks.
Yeah, I forgot how we got there, but we did try to make our way back. So, we started in the desert, went up there, and then we were making our way back. So,
Yep.
Speaking of the Golden Peaks, the boat is still there. The ship
Nice.
is still there. It is now pretty much a cultural landmark.
Yeah.
And the city of Delore has sort of now taken responsibility to the upkeep of what it remains of the ship and
Can they reach
protecting it.
I guess
Oh
you can
yeah,
fly.
they're
You
dwarves.
can
They don't have
fly.
to climb mountains.
That's true. I meant to fly. It's pretty wedged in there, so that's true. Yeah.
But it's now sort of just like this point of history that the city of Delore now just maintains and will actually give guided tours along the peaks for people to see the ship that is now embedded into the side of this mountain.
Is the bell still there? I couldn't remember if the bell was still there or not.
Nobody knows where the bell is.
Okay.
Like,
the bell is the reason
people,
we got stuck in the mountain.
I imagine that some higher like a higher government official or some military official got a hold of the bell and sealed it away, knowing exactly what it can do, because they don't need more ships in the side of the mountains. But anytime anybody asks what's going on with the bell, where's the bell? I heard there was a bell. All knowledge is denied about it. So that way nobody looks for the bell.
So do the people that kind of that are the caretakers of that particular site, do they actually know how and why the ship ended up there, or did they just kind of make up their own stories about it?
The story is made up. Nobody knows why that ship is there.
Nice.
There's like discussions and whatnot that the heroes that brought continuance were on this ship when it crashed into the side of the mountain.
Some are still alive.
But they don't know why. So there is like a lot of rumor and a lot of innuendo around how the ship got there. And depending on what tour guide somebody gets, the story always changes.
Nice. That's how local legends are born, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Like they've pretty much turned the boat into a tourist trap.
Which is appropriate. And for those of you who don't know, it's basically this bell had some minor portions of teleportation, and we rung the bell, got a nat 1, and we were on a ship. We were at sea, and it teleported us to the very top and crashed into the peaks of the mountains. Where it stayed forever and we had to climb our way down. Thankfully, we found a tunnel to go through where we met the dwarves and everything, the beer paladins and whatnot. But, that was a big oopsie poopsie. So there's no grand, like, oh yes, there was this glorious battle on a dragon. Nope, just oopsie, rolled a nat 1, went from the sea to the top of the mountains. And the rest is clearly history, however it is interpreted. So
oh no, it wasn't a nat 1. You rolled a 1 on a D100.
Which is
it was the percentile chart for how off course you are, right?
Yep.
Look, listen, another one of Ash's fuck ups, okay?
But
that was the dice though.
So
that wasn't her.
In regards to like the rest of the world changing, Arcastis has pretty much shared a lot of their technological magical contraptions with some of the more established cities in Tahlendra. So it's now no longer just it's now just commonplace, like in Glimmercross, to see homes with electricity.
So they're very advanced.
The best way I can describe Arcastis is pretty much think Piltover from like League of Legends, like Arcane. It's like very technomancy. It's just like technology, magical stuff. It's pretty much the home of where every artificer in Tahlendra gets their training. So a lot of like very advanced. Of like the technological contraptions that you will see while you're exploring this new Tahlendra comes from Arcastis.
I mean, 160 years, so yeah, for them to expand and find items in other homes is perfect. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the movie Onward, where everything was all fantasy, and then they started slowly getting like light bulbs in their homes. Just smaller scale right now.
Yeah.
Still fantasy, but advanced.
Glimmercross has gotten a nice rebuilding after the siege of Vincent that pretty much destroyed the capital city of the southern the southern region of Tahlendra. But it's not without its issues. While the city itself has been rebuilt and it's now thriving again, there is a portion of the city that is cordoned off because they were unable to fully remove the corruption of undeath in it. So there's just like this small pocket in the city that is walled off and is continuously maintained and patrolled by a local group of blood hunters.
Very
And
appropriate.
It's meant to keep whatever is still in that pocket at bay, and they don't know why, but more things keep coming through. So there's just like this small like necromantic rift in there where spirits and angry undead just pour through, and they need to like make sure to beat them back so that it doesn't spill into Glimmercross and it doesn't get any bigger.
It is, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of where the second to last final battle was of the campaign, where we were all dealing with a lich vampire that at that point had a very massive undead army, and thankfully at that part of the campaign we had many allies that we gathered to help deal with the army while we infiltrated the castle that was just right on the corner of Glimmercross for us to take him down, that he was residing in. So the fact that there's still a little bit of a rift there kind of makes sense, because he was a very powerful, very dangerous undead lich, and to have that kind of power still sort of leaking after all these years definitely feels appropriate. Scary, but appropriate to still have that mark.
Helios and Hellion's Gate are no longer what they used to be. For those of you who remember campaign 2, that was pretty much Vincent's base of operations, and he turned it into an undead hellscape and pretty much took all of the minotaurs that called that place home and converted them into his undead army. However, Hellion's Gate and Helios are now under the control of the Ghoul Kingdom, as this is now their small little pocket of the world where the more established and, in their eyes, refined undead can have a place to call home without anybody threatening to hunt them down and destroy them.
Good times.
Though if you want things to hunt and destroy that are undead, that would be Tharia. Tharia has not recovered. It is still an island of death and
that's
decay.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
like a fake kingdom, or one of the fake kingdoms.
Yeah, unfortunately, the use of the crown by their queen at the time has pretty much caused just this gloom of corruption around the island, to where it just, no matter how much magics the other kingdoms, the other cities have poured into trying to get rid of it, no matter how many blood hunters have been sent in, no matter how many clerics, no matter how many paladins, no matter how much victory has been gained in those lands, the land itself is unhealable.
Which is unfortunate, because it was a gorgeous place.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was like one of those crown, like those crown points for a lot of like the Fey magics and the Fey people, and the crown just wiped it out.
And I mean, it does, as sad as that is, from a history and lore perspective, it does make sense that the use of the crown would render that place unrepairable, because the crown, for those that don't remember, was harnessing some insane fucking magics. I mean, this thing was made to trap and harvest, in a way, uneternal being. So for it to leave a permanent scar on the world like that, it makes sense.
Now, with that said, Tharia is also a very strong focal point for treasure hunters.
Yeah,
a lot of Fey-like treasures in there, I'm sure.
Fey treasures, Fey artifacts, a bunch of like unexplored Fey ruins.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you want to go treasure hunting and you're not afraid of just consistent siege by the undead, Tharia's right there.
You know what? I had my time in Malorsic before we fixed it. I'm good. I'm good. Which is funny because a lot of which we of course discovered. Not necessarily saying the entire kingdom, because I don't know how true that is, but at least the kingdom itself, the monarchy and everything did relocate. They did survive. At least some of them survived, and are now part of. They reside now in Augur, which is our Destiny Forge campaign 4 setting where we are right now in Junar Gol. So there are some Tharians there. In fact, the ruler resides there now. But yeah, safe to say, I don't think they're going back home anytime soon. So
the ruler of Tharia is dead. She was the one who put the crown on.
I thought that's where Molly.
Yeah, but is. Molly wasn't the ruler of Tharia. She was just
not at the time.
She wasn't at all. She was pretty much. She was raised in a forest in Tharia by an archdruid.
I thought it was. Okay, never mind. I thought that's what it was.
No, she was. She was a half storm giant, half Goliath, and she was she was the lost empress of the land where campaign 4 is currently taking place, or campaign 4 is taking place.
Yeah. Okay. I flip-flopped that, man. See, I tried to find my notebook. Couldn't find it.
No, the Queen of Tharia put the crown on after successfully wresting control from her father, thinking that this crown was going to hold up to what its rumored abilities were, which was to signify that you were strong enough to rule without a companion. You didn't have to have a queen didn't need a king, a king didn't need a queen. Unfortunately, it was known in Kamiroska and by those who made it as the crown of domination. And and the moment she put it on, it spelt doom for all of Tharia. And to this day, if you go into Tharia, you can still see the nonstop savagery that is still plaguing the land. Any spirit you come across in Tharia is instantly hostile and will not think twice about just rending the flesh from your body. It is not a place to go unless you are prepared for the worst.
It's New Malorsik.
It's worse than it's worse than Malorsik.
If it's worse than Malorsik, I don't want it.
Malorsik still had a fighting chance to get away from the worm god. Arya has no chance of coming back.
So
I will say this right now as the DM, there is no way, shape, or form anyone can save Tharia. It is doomed for eternity.
Look, we were roughly, I think, 13, 14 when we went into Malorsik, so we were decent level. And that kicked our ass. We were there for, it took several episodes. But realistically, we're there for 2, maybe 3 days in game. And that 10 episodes for just 3 days was hell. If y'all watched that, we do have that up on our YouTube. That was literal hell. And that was a struggle bus. And I think we could barely rest. I think we barely were able to squeeze in out of 3 days. One night of actual
hunting.
Rest. Yeah,
there were small siege packs that were continuously hunting you.
Yeah.
And something even bigger coming after you. Yeah.
Tharia, no, unless we're level 20, I'm cool not going there anytime soon.
I'll say this, level 20s would have a challenge in Tharia.
But they would have a chance.
Maybe.
But
don't go to Tharia, kids.
Don't go to Tharia.
Or go to Tharia. I'm not your mom.
And for just to show you on the map real quick too, actually I'm gonna have to squeeze it over a little bit because it's kind of over here in the southeast part of the map, over where the far reach is. Malorsik is right here. where our Daggerheart, I almost said Dagger Tree, so many daggers, Daggerheart is taking place in Malorsic, where that was a hellhole, no longer a hellhole. So it's kind of like in its little corner right here where it's taking place.
It's a different kind of hellhole depending on who you ask.
It's not trying to kill us.
Well,
with undead.
Again, depending on who you ask.
That's fair.
I mean, episode 1, demons did literally pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But we were able to
It's more civilized. Let's put it that way.
It's a civilized murder.
It is, yes.
Now, if you want the hellhole, just go a little bit more south to Nephilis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually a place we did not discover, which is right over here.
I found the notes about it. I found the notes about Nephilis when it was first made, and it was like a tiefling, what do you call it? A tiefling paradise, where those, like, the unwanted, like the criminals and whatnot, are fed like mind-altering drugs to like pacify them.
Yep.
Was what the original lore of Nephilis was.
I remember talking about that when we were first creating it.
Yep.
Don't go to Nephilis, kids.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting if we ever have a chance to go over there in Daggerheart.
Speaking of the far reach, speaking of the Fae, I don't think we can't not talk about the Fae without talking about everybody's Fae power couple of Tarshara and Rose.
Mm-hmm.
And in that side, the Fae people themselves.
Mm-hmm.
In AD 160, at the time of a new era, passage between the realms is fully open. It is no longer only maintained in Malorsic. It is now back to the way things used to be. So be prepared for more Fae bullshit, because the Fae are now once again back into the world as it is. There are the restrictions that were placed on them as in Malorsic are no longer there. They have the right and the ability to pull Fae bullshit on unsuspecting people. So yeah, full Fae are back in the swing again.
That's good. I'm excited for it, but I'm also glad that the Fae, got that slap on the wrist, because they were, there's a balance to things, and they were starting to upset that balance. So they get a little slap, and now it's back to normal.
You mean them being pretty much the cause of multiple timeline resets, because the Fae, the Fae Queen at the time didn't want to release power?
Yep.
Yeah, and I know people hear Fae and they go, well, I mean, that's just typical Fae. But in this particular campaign of Campaign 2 Destiny Forge, if we weren't dealing with undead, we were dealing with a crazed Fae Queen that at one point was hand in hand with one of the ghoul demigods, the ghoul gods, and there was a lot of crap happening the same time. So it wasn't just typical Fae shit. They were actually very heavily involved in the main storyline as well. So it definitely was deserved, not because they were Fae, but because of the shit that went down. We're like, hey, slap on the wrist, you're on timeout for a few decades, we'll come back. And and that's where our Daggerheart campaign kind of starts like a few years after, where it's like, okay, they're kind of slowly coming off of timeout. But of course, that's about, I'd have to look up my notes, like 80 or so years after the events of 2. So now this is double that since campaign 2. So yeah, lots of time for them to be back in the flow, which is great, because thanks to Rose, we established there's definitely a lot more Shadow Fae on this continent compared to some other continents, which I'm trying to... there's no details yet, which I'm trying to sort of squeeze into my new character when we start up the new campaign, because again, Shadow Fae kind of had a big influence, or at least were in abundance in this area, a lot of shadow roads and whatnot. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see how the Fae have come back on this continent for sure. So I think what we're gonna do for right now, since we're kind of getting to that hour mark, we still have time. Of course, we're not going anywhere, but we're gonna take a very short break just to kind of get up, replenish our drinks, as we're going to continue talking about lore and whatnot. If you guys have any questions, since we're not doing this in our traditional sense of, halfway through talk about a subject, the other half answer questions, feel free to drop us questions at any time and we'll be more than happy to answer them. But for right now, we'll be right back in just a couple moments. Get up and stretch, and we'll see you in a moment. Yes,
when we do come back, Rhojin, I want to talk to you about dragons.
Dragons.
Oh yeah, I've got some questions too. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that. That's a whole other can of worms. All right, we'll see you guys in just a moment. And we are back.
Welcome
back, guys.
We're back. All right.
We are back, yeah.
Come back as I'm letting my cat in the room.
The cat.
The cat.
So we can still continue talk about what we're talking about, but of course, just like before we went on our break, Fox and I definitely have some questions for you, Rhojin. Is there anything else you want to talk about first before we kind of dive into that?
The only thing I want to mention is the collector's vault is still open for like exploration.
Which, if I remember correctly, it's up north. Oh, gosh.
It's in the desert.
It's in the desert, but it's kind of like in the
It's very close to Fort Zale.
Yeah, it's very close. Which for can't zoom in on the map a little bit.
I just held my finger. I just held my pointer down on the map I have pulled up, thinking I was gonna ping it on Roll20.
No.
So it's over by Fort Zale, and
which
it's
is right here on the marker.
It's close to, yeah, it's close to Delore. And if you were to take, this is a stupid way to triangulate it, but if you were to draw like a diagonal line from both the Colosseum and Fort Zale, where the 2 points would intersect is where the vault is at.
So it's kind of like right here for the marker.
A little more to the right, a little closer to the mountains.
It's probably right about there.
Around there ish, yes.
Yeah, it's
open. There is a small group that has sort of set up shop around the vault and is like their own like little explorers guild who go in there and try to break through the various levels of the vault, fighting through the still active security that's down there, any of the magical creatures that decided not to flee when the door to the vault blew open. So there's a lot of like dangers down there, but there's still a lot of very powerful and very expensive artifacts that are down there.
Mm-hmm. It had a lot of treasures.
And I just wanted to drop this here for both of you, because you guys are playing in a new era, and anybody in the chat who's playing a new era. I have 0 story developed episode 1. I am dropping everything in your hands as to where you are going, as this is a new era. This is a new age of exploration and adventure. The story is going to shape around your decisions. Much like what happened in campaign 2.
Yeah.
This campaign 2, you guys had set up like your initial quest. You were the Disney princesses. You were trying to help retrieve the crown from Kamiroska, and it just spun out from there. So
and it all started with a simple little escort quest, and just
I am giving you all like multiple shots of Hennessy, giving you the car keys and letting you go wherever you need. If you crash the car, it's your own fault.
Well, we did pretty well, I would like to think, despite some crazy, a lot of crazy.
You did.
We did pretty well.
You did.
We did.
You only set the first 4 out of 4 towns you went to on fire or caused hell. You're the one who decided to Capri Sun a guy in the middle of Glimmercross in the middle of the day.
Because they attacked us. In my defense, that was HBfox's rival and his
No,
goons,
it wasn't.
But
It wasn't.
they were part of it. It
was tied, I forgot whose backstory it was, but he was some sort of pompous ass prince.
That's right.
I think it was your backstory, Zorro. It was like he was some pompous ass prince from somebody's background. There was a one-on-one fight. He got his ass beat. He kept running his mouth, and so Ash went over and Capri Sunned him and turned him into a ghoul.
I remember that now. Yeah.
I was depressed because I tried to defuse. That's when we found. Oh, see, this is why I'm pissed. I couldn't find my notebook.
This is when you met Piper.
This is before. Well, this is after Piper, but I'm talking about. Oh God, Olga, the See, this is why I wish I had my notebook. She was a.
She was
the Dryad.
Dryad. She was an Oni.
Yeah, an Oni. Yeah.
She was an Oni.
The Oni. No,
Ash
you didn't meet her there.
No, you met her in the tavern.
You didn't meet her in. It wasn't in Glimmercross though. You met her earlier.
It was
later in the game.
Later, yeah.
You met her far later in the game. You met when you got to Glimmercross. On your way up to Glimmercross, you met a little girl.
Yes.
And her mother, who was a dryad, who had their mother tree converted into a armoire in her home so she could travel.
Yes.
But no, Helga, you met later on.
But it was still like she was technically there to like kill us, but she was like feeling us out, and she was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And Ash was able to befriend her, and it got to the point where she's like, she witnessed the fight, and she's like, "Okay, you guys are actually pretty great. You know, we made friends. We're just gonna go away." But Ash was so depressed.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I specifically remember this because the reason why she Capri Sunned the guy is because she was trying to use the same tactic on these to defuse the situation. Did not work. She felt depressed that she couldn't succeed, and she popped the toe off and was like, and got sad.
And then later on, as you guys were trying to escape from Glimmercross, you met Piper.
Yeah. Love at first sight. for Tickles and him. Him specifically. I don't know about Tickles, but definitely love at first sight for Piper. Which I thought
Tickles
was
loved
adorable.
everything at first sight, let's be honest.
This is fair. Yeah. No, it was very cute. And he's the best archdemon ever.
So there are 2 questions that popped up in chat.
Yes.
The first one is from Siva, which says, since a new era will start in Lumen, are there any details about the town/city that you can share?
Which is on my list that I was going to ask you originally, so that kind of worked
Lumen,
out.
for the most part, even though it has sort of gone on through the ages and everything, and they've got their own little upgrades from Arcastus, Lumen has still pretty much hailed itself as the city of light. It still has that very miraculous moonlit garden that a couple of you had visited when you did spend a little bit of time in Lumen Campaign 2. It is
there long.
You weren't there long. You were there for like a day or two. You pissed off the water djinn that was in Moontier Lake before you left.
Tickles again.
But
Tickles pissed off.
Again, yeah. But Lumen itself is Lumen is a city of culture. Lumen is a city of tradition that has been like going on since the time that it was originally founded. Everybody who is in Lumen sort of has that thriving love for the city, the love for the gardens, the love for Moontier Lake. Everybody who is there is raised with that mentality that you leave a place better than you found it. They are a very strong, tight-knit community. It's not like to where if one person is down, anybody is going to pretty much celebrate their downfall. It's more your neighbor is having a hard time. Your neighbor is going through something that is just driving them crazy, or it just throws them into a thing of depression. They can count on their neighbors to be there for any sorts of support that they may need. Do you need me to watch your kids so you can go out for a walk? Do you need, hey, I just baked, this batch of cookies and I've had way too many. Here's some cookies. It's just a very open and a very loving community in Lumen. So anyone from Lumen would have that ingrained leave a place better than you found it sort of mentality taught to them since childbirth.
And I think Lumen is in a unique position geographically because it's the only major city north of the Drummond Mountains. I mean, there are towns and villagers up there, obviously, towns and villages rather. But like as far as like big cities go, it's the only one north of those mountains. So anything likely that has to pass through the Drummond Mountains is probably passing through Lumen as well. So it's a city that's going to be relied on by a lot of other cities on the continent as a major thoroughfare from that region. So a lot of cities will have vested interest in not pissing off Lumen.
Yeah, because if you look at the map, there's a lot of, there is several towns around it, but they're much smaller by comparison. A lot of the ones to the north are just kind of crazy in their own sense, a lot going on there, so a lot of people tend to avoid the north. Then of course you've got the mountains, that mountain range. The only next major place to go technically would be either Dulur or Port Vassal, because Port Passing was just a tiny little place where the Monster Hunter Paladins and their library resided. So that wasn't even like a town per se. It was more of just like a military base where it was like, yeah, there were a couple things there, but it was for the Monster Hunters and the Paladins there. So yeah, they're kind of like the next major place to go until you go either way further east or south. So yeah, it's definitely crucial, I would think, as far as like a place to go and not piss off.
Yeah, Lumen is probably one of the most friendly places you can be in this like collection of cities all over the continents. They are very welcoming. They're very happy people. So yeah, I'm excited to see where how your characters are going to develop from being from Lumen and then exploring the rest of the world as it is.
Because there's definitely a lot of places we still have not even touched on. So for instance, we didn't even discover that much in the north. We went to Dashir briefly, and then we went to Fellock a handful of times, but again, very briefly. We never really explored the Frigid Crown or is that Elvenir over there. Ash wanted to go to the Frigid Crown. Okay, that was one of the hacks we didn't go.
You did explore Elvenir for just a brief moment when you when you guys were on your boat and you brought it around the land there to go back to Fellock.
Yes.
Elvenir is pretty much it's an abandoned port.
That's where the crazy illusionary shit started happening in the town. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I know y'all are gonna go to Frigid Crown at some point because the two of you have been chomping at the bit to go to the Frigid Crown since campaign 2.
Ash had selfish reasons to go. She was a collector of books. One of the few hag books she did not have was an ice hag that was up there. Out of the 3 sisters, she had 2 out of the 3. And she wanted to go there. And we were planning to until the shenanigan with the white dragon happened, and then we were like, we should probably go south. We probably should stay up here.
Oh my god, I forgot. Moontear Lake is also the site of where Ash just killed all of the white dragons.
The north of the lake, yeah. We were north of the lake, and in Ash's defense, she did not know
it's their defense.
The spear was a one.
The dragon lance.
It was a bit of an oopsie that surprised all of us.
Yeah, because we were told it was a fantastical spear to help against dragons. That is all we knew. I didn't know it was gonna commit genocide of the white dragons. So
it's okay. They're back now.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. It's back.
Which me and Fox have some follow-up questions. Fox, if you will.
Yeah. So, going into this new campaign, I'm going to be playing a character that's very like focused on dragons, and because white dragons in particular are just my favorite. They're my favorite D&D creature, like full stop. They always have been. I think I have dumped so much money on every white dragon figure that WizKids has produced, except for Arveatris, which is a $200 dragon that I so badly want, but goddamn, it's expensive anyway. So I have a deep love for white dragons, and I haven't dove into that very much beyond making a white dragonborn once that did some stuff. So I'm looking forward to diving into that a bit in this upcoming campaign, which hopefully at some point means going to the Frigid Crown, because that seems like the type of place a white dragon would make its lair.
That's where the ice is. It makes sense.
But we did have that oopsie in campaign 2 where all the white dragons were wiped out. They have since made their return to the land, obviously. But historically, white dragons are very grumpy boys that would much rather just eat you rather than have a conversation with you. So I wanted to ask, what is the presence of white dragons like on this continent at this point in the timeline? And did that brief extinction change the way that they interact with civilization?
All I could say in regards to their population is cockroaches. The population of white
will
dragons,
survive.
especially in the north, has boomed. Like the Frigid Crown itself is technically home to a lot of like nesting white dragons. It's secluded, it is safe, it is their preferred environment. And so going up to the Frigid Crown or anywhere in the forests near the crown, running into a white dragon or a white dragon wormling or anything of the sort, not uncommon.
Good to know.
Their behavior hasn't really changed, because none of them know what happened. Because let's face it, cool as they are, white dragons ain't the smartest ones.
Yeah, they're not
They are the
the
dumber of them.
library type.
They're not the library type. They're
No.
in the dragon world. They're like, even though they normally have anywhere from 5 to 8 intelligence when they're growing up, and like the ancients have about a 10. You know, they're a little dum-dums. They're not stupid, but they aren't, like as Fox said, the bookish types to where you have some ancient dragons who are pushing 20 intelligence.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really know what happened. They don't really have a grasp on history that at one point their species did not exist.
Oh, good.
So it's just they're just thriving. As to say, dragons in this I have like at this point in time are thriving because the return of gods of magic have pretty much opened the magical ley lines, granting more magical abilities to more people out in the world. And as such, because they are creatures that are distinctly tied to the flow of magic in a land, dragons in and of themselves are now common once again.
Okay.
This being said, bit dangerous out in the world sometimes if you run into a dragon that is hunting. Thankfully, most of them can be reasoned with.
Or seduced.
Or seduced.
Ash tried. She was successful.
Especially if it's a certain rich red dragon that you run into.
Look, she had a moment of weakness.
I think that also, okay, so before we move forward with the dragon questions, to answer Azarin's question, the name of the Queen of the Summer Court has not yet been revealed.
Oh!
That is a lore tidbit that I am holding on to until it is discovered. And there is a reason for that.
I like that.
So a follow-up to the white dragon stuff. Do the people of the world or of the continent know why or how the white dragons briefly went extinct, and
that is
how do they react?
That is a tightly kept secret. The only ones who know specifically as to what happened to those dragons are Ash and her group of friends. Nobody else knows about it.
Shit.
And anybody who does know pretends that they do not know, because to admit to, oops, I accidentally ate an entire species of dragon would pretty much put Ash back on the #1 shit list for all dragons. Yeah.
I feel like that's the type of thing that even the more goodly dragons would be like, okay, well, you're gonna have to pay for that one, because they were still dragons.
Yeah.
She did. She was cursed. She didn't
She
know.
was cursed.
She felt awful.
She was cursed.
Yeah.
She felt awful about it.
Was the curse enough of a retribution for wiping out a species?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
I did mention it in my epilogue that she was going to try and make it her goal to help bring back the dragons, because she carried that guilt with her. She loves dragons. She felt awful that happened. So, and it was an actual genuine oopsie. All of us even were like, oh shit, we didn't know that. So,
Grave, to your question, the world dragons themselves, the ones who are awake, a vast majority of them keep their identities and keep the fact that they're awake like a very closely knit secret because of who and what they are. Those who do know about them are either the fortunate heroes that have come across them in their travels, or those who sort of discovered that this particular dragon is now awake, and they begin to act almost as a cult around them, venerating the dragon, giving them sacrifice, taking care of them and everything, and closely guarding the secret that, yes, this ancient being who has been around since time existed is now once again awake and walking the world. Now, that is to be said that there are some world dragons, as you, a creator of one of them, is not keeping their existence a secret and is causing trouble.
Yep. I've actually got a lot more stuff planned with world dragons as well that we're going to see come to fruition in Sonata, because there's a couple over on that continent as well. I mean, one of them you guys interacted with in Sonata 2, I think, and fought against at the very end to rid the corruption from it. And that dragon still exists over there and is still doing stuff. And there's a couple more, and there's something else that I've been working on for several years at this point. But I have not discussed any of it with Rhojin. But it's in relation to a world dragon. You know what? I'll talk about it here, because if I don't talk about it now, I'll never actually make time to talk to Rhojin about it. I know how I am with scheduling.
That's fair.
But I will put the disclaimer here now that everything that I'm about to talk about in relation to this is subject to change wildly. So don't take any of it as anything like written in stone. So I'll try and be quick about this, but real quick, in Destiny Forge Campaign 3, there was a moment where Nilani ate a cookie, and she became a child.
Yeah.
And Mia took it upon herself to kind of be like the surrogate mother of this child Nilani until she grew up again, which thankfully only took like a week. And that was its own bit of irony, since Valkyrie can't have children. And she told a story to Nilani, a story that she called, I think, the Mother Moon is what she called it. And it was a story about how the moon and its two smaller orbits represented a mother and her daughters, or a mother and her tears for her daughters, depending on the story that you follow. Now, that was the setup for something that Cassius has been working on for a number of years, which I started to dive more into in Tricorn before we all died. And that was when Sharon was pursuing the fruit that separates the soul from the body. So Cassius believes that story of the Mother Moon isn't just a children's tale, that it's actually a bit of lore from the world that has just been reinterpreted into a children's tale. And the actual story behind it is that during the war between the Forgotten Gods and the World Dragons, there was a World Dragon that saw her daughters killed by a Forgotten God. And it upset her to the point where she decided to be done with the world, and she beat her wings as hard as she could, as fast as she could, until she went beyond the horizon. And she stayed there crying for her lost daughters for so long until her tears dried up and her scales turned to stone. And she is the moon. That is her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Cassius wants to go pay her a visit
Wake up.
because he thinks that there's still a beating heart in there somewhere.
Oh no.
There's still a world dragon alive up there in the sky. And he knows a way to free her, let's say.
God damn it.
So I'm developing a long story there that may come to fruition to reveal that the world dragons are more than just dragons that live on our world. There may be things beyond the horizon related to them as well.
Space dragons.
You're not the only one who's been working on stuff like that.
So yeah, it's that particular one has been slowly advancing over the last like 3 or 4 years.
I will say that I
Damn.
too have been working on dragons on the moon, I guess you could say.
Oh god.
So
Lunar dragons.
Lunar dragons, yeah.
They are a thing. They are.
I have been working on creating pretty much a species of dragon who comes from orbital satellites around planets. So I may have to get with you and talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very believable in the sense that, I mean, even if it wasn't, because we make up our own shit and it works fantastically, but I mean, lunar dragons are a thing, so to have like lore kind of around them and then it being a world dragon would be pretty intense. That'd be kind
All of a sudden the moon sprouts wings.
Ah! Oh god, it's like
It's
what is
Gary
it?
all over again.
Oh no, it was no, I was thinking of Zelda and Majora's Mask, where the moon is just gonna crash to the planet, destroy everything.
I mean,
Oh god, no.
if Cassius gets his way, the moon will still be there. It just won't have a heart anymore.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with that. I know
I mean, he did it to a void dragon, and he became the void dragon. Who says you can't do it to a world dragon and become a world dragon?
Cassius is going to become the new moon.
He is so
He
overly ambitious.
Okay,
he does
so
have
I can
reasons for it.
reveal this now because Tricorn is over. Avara, on the other hand, has pretty much pulled the wool over everyone's eyes with the whole story of, oh, I saved the Tricorn. I beat the 3 ancient gods that were going to threaten everyone. She didn't beat them. She aligned herself with them. Those 3 gods are still active, and she's sort of like doing as Ravon does, using her words and influencing individuals, and sort of allowed them to see the light of possibly working with her as sort of a proxy ruler over the Tricorn and spreading their influence to the people while maintaining the facade of her being some great and powerful hero / now empress. And that was what led her into, as you guys heard before the end of the campaign, of capturing a lich. Like,
The Ravon family, I swear to God.
yeah, she had, around the time of quote unquote saving the Tricorn, amassed a great deal of power for herself in order to rival Cassius.
It is a very Avara thing to do.
It's just a pissing contest between the
It is a pissing
Frickin'
contest
siblings.
consistently
the
between
world's
the
gonna
twins.
end. The world is gonna
The-
end between these two. I swear to God, because they're like, no, I'm better. No, I'm better.
Well,
I'm the favorite.
That's kind of the funny thing about the two of them, well, I mean, it's not funny. It can often be disastrous for the world, but it's Cassius is pursuing a lot of these powerful things for himself, for not selfless reasons, but the events of Destiny Forge Campaign 1 really opened his eyes to the things that are happening behind the scenes. He'd never admit it to Null, but he is very much on the side of Null in that balance must be maintained because there are horrors beyond our imagination just waiting on the other side of the veil for balance to tip one way or the other. So his pursuits of power are very much selfish in nature, but are also to the end of helping to maintain the balance. Whereas Avara, she's just a very unkind person, and she sees her brother have something, and she's like, no. I must have something better.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to have it.
And one of the problems with those particular two that I did hint at the very end of Tricorn, when Charon was asked which one she would side with should she have to choose, and she said she wouldn't have to choose either, because you can't have one without the other. And that's because in their lore, when Avara ritualistically murdered their parents, that moment also tied the two of them together, in that if you look at it from a lich standpoint, they essentially are each other's phylactery. So if one dies, as long as the other still remains, they will come back.
You could just imagine that, because if you go off the whole point of them being a phylactery, if one of them dies, they're going to reform next to the other one, meaning they're going to have to hear so much shit talk about them dying.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Which I'm actually looking forward to that, like when and if we eventually do a sequel to No Way Out. I already planned, and I already talked to Fox about this, is that even though he's not a world dragon yet, he already has worshippers, and I was going to do I think he was a cleric, where he did void magic, and got his, in order to do this, obviously he was gifted this void magic from Cassius, who's a void dragon. So
yep,
it'll be fun to kind of tap into that and see how he reacts to certain things, if he ever does. But yeah, that'll just be
actually to that point, since we are a lore show and we do talk about how we create things, just a quick note for all DMs out there, new and old, it doesn't have to be somebody of godly power that lends their power to clerics and warlocks or whoever else. It just has to be a creature of significant power that lends their abilities to someone. Someone of lesser power lending their abilities out isn't going to have like hordes of worshippers like a god does, obviously, but that doesn't mean like a sufficiently powerful dragon can't have a half dozen warlocks at its disposal.
Yeah,
it's a possibility.
I mean, case in point, campaign 2 of Critical Role, there was a cleric that got her powers from an archfey. Archfays are powerful, but they're not gods. But because they're so powerful, he bestowed his power to a cleric, and she started spreading the word so he could become more powerful. But pretty much just like what Fox said, they're not a god by any means, but they were powerful enough to bestow that power and blessing on clerics, which also could be warlocks, so on and so forth. So yeah, it's very interesting that you do not have to limit yourself like that. So it'll be fun when that happens.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you, Rhojin. this is more of me just curious, but also wondering if this would have any influence. So at the end of campaign 2, and we did see a little bit of it in campaign 3, of Ash's brother was able to finally sail to the Vampire Isles where they were originally from, or at least their family was from, and kind of have whether it's business dealings or kind of realign themselves, so on and so forth. Do we see more vampires coming to Tahlendra? Because technically at the time it was just Ash's family, which was only 4 of them. So those are the only vampires there. So will we be seeing more vampires as they kind of sort of rekindled that relationship, or is it just kind of very far and few between because it's still early?
I will say that there are vampires who have settled in Tahlendra.
Oh.
Though the vampires who have settled down have pretty much rules set in place on them as to how they are going to conduct themselves.
Okay.
Everyone who is down here from the Isles, anyone who has made a home here, knows that Ash's father is still the one who calls the shots. If you are down here, he is the ruling count. You do not act against him. You do not act against his interests, and you are to hold yourself and conduct your business as a representative of not only him, but of the Isles. So there isn't any of this Strahd bullshit going on or anything like that. You are to conduct your business in a professional manner and not act as an embarrassment. So he runs a very tight-knit ship for any vampires who come down here to settle. So again, there's not a Barovia incident happening.
Right. Now, are they sticking to the very far north, or are they kind of scattered?
Oh no, they're scattered.
Okay.
They're scattered. Because yes, you're a vampire, but why are you gonna just settle in a frozen area?
Because it's comfy. Vampires like...
No, I will say that there are vampires who have pretty much integrated themselves into a more civilization-facing role.
Oh, okay.
They don't let themselves be known as vampires. They still keep that close to the heart because blood hunters. But there are vampires who have integrated themselves into high society down in Tahlendra.
Okay.
They don't announce themselves because yes, monster hunters are still a thing. Blood hunters are most definitely a thing. They don't really need somebody trying to, stake them because they are an ascended form of vampire.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
So, backtracking a little bit, which it's still kind of on topic since we're talking about vampires and season 2 characters. Rosa did ask a question earlier on about how many of the Destiny Forge season 2 characters would still be alive at this point. And I think it would be Ash, Rose, Tarshara, and Kyo. Am I missing any?
It would be Ash,
20.
Rose,
Tickles.
Ash, Rose, Tarshara, Kyo, Tickles.
Zale's the only one that died.
Trying to think. I don't think.
Oh, and Tiris.
No, Callista would still be around.
Yeah, the elf.
Was she a full elf or a half elf?
She was a full elf, I think.
I think she was a wood elf, if I remember correctly.
Wood elf.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
Tarshara is still around. Yeah, I think the only one who isn't around
is Zale and Tiris.
Is Zale and Tiris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiris because he sacrificed himself, and Zale because old age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone else was a long-living race, or somehow
got the ability to live forever,
or had an ability to live forever. So
whether they wanted it or not.
And
Yeah.
because of that, there are a lot of eternal offspring that are running about. Ash's kids, Rose's kids, Zale's kids,
Tickles.
because Zale's kids are a special lot because they don't have God blood in them. They have eternal blood in them. Because the librarian in itself is not a deity, it's not a demon, it's not a devil. It is a form of higher being known as an eternal, something that has been around again since the dawn of history. It was there when the world dragons and the old gods fought, and it will be there when long after the world has ended and the cycle begins anew.
Which is still Chemic's goal to be part of that.
The only one of Zale's kids that didn't have the librarian's blood in them was Zale's first. She was just a regular Knoll.
Regular Knoll.
And she would be dead at this point, long since.
Yeah, because Knolls are only like what, 30 to 40 years. They're kind of short-lived.
They're 50 to 60. But it's really rare to see them live that long. That's their natural lifespan, but usually they, die from Knoll stuff before then.
Yeah, that's kind of I remember that because I compared it to half orcs. They're the same way. Their typical lifespan is like 60 to 70, but they usually live 30 to 40 because they've got that warrior's blood in them. So it's just their natural lifespan. She died
then you
old
have
age.
And then you have everybody's favorite himbo Turok, who's got that Briarheart in him, who's keeping him going.
Yeah. And he was getting up there. He was I'll have to double check. I think he was almost 40. He was reaching 40 at that time, which he was a hermit, so he probably would have died of old age. He would have died young for a half orc anyway because he was very much part of the forest. But again, that's middle age, starting to get a little over for a half orc. So he was getting.
I mean, if you ever want eternal life and eternal youth, just go find yourself a Briarheart.
But as we've learned, because at the time we didn't, we just heard, okay, he's very devout to his forest, to nature in general. His goddess bestowed this Briarheart to him, finding him not only worthy, but, had an important task and got this Briarheart. It wasn't until just recently in Withered Ways Southern Frontier that we learned the specifics of having a Briar's Heart and how you have to be very attuned to nature, worship a god, or very, very prioritize nature to a certain extent to where you are deemed worthy to receive it, which at the time we didn't even know about. We were just like, oh shit, okay, yeah, his goddess gave it to him. So that was kind of cool to learn that those were the specifics, which of course after that was revealed made total sense why Turok got it, but it was kind of cool that was revealed for it.
And we also learned how to forcefully make a Briarheart, which is slightly less cool.
Yeah.
Now, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Use the heart of my people.
It's fine.
Which also makes sense because Dryad. It all comes together full circle, whether people like it or not. So yeah.
Nothing horrible here. Just it's fine. Just move along. It's fine.
Nope. Yeah. Did you have any other questions you wanted to ask, Fox?
I don't think so. None that pertains specifically to this part of the world. I have an endless number of world related questions, but doing my best to keep it on topic. Nothing specifically related to Tahlendra.
To be fair, this was also to talk about anything of the developments of the other worlds that have influenced the world itself. It is crossing lore. It's just Tahlendra was the main point of focus.
I do actually have 2 points. One just real quick, something that I forgot about earlier when I was talking about the Maw. Another point that will be on the new map is the crystal volcano that Keo
Yep.
made,
The Keo
and
Yep.
the endlessly
Yeah.
expanding dungeon beneath it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the
The
other
Temple of
point
Keo.
that is not related to that, but is related to the rest of the world, that I've actually just been meaning to DM you about, Rhojin, is right now, as I'm continuing to build and add things to the world, I've started to step away from Draconic as a naming convention, because I feel like now that the Pantheon is beginning to reform and the world is beginning to find itself again and move away from those Draconic roots, it would make sense that the people of the world are beginning to use their own language to name and create things. So I wanted to just get your opinion about whether you feel like that's a good move for the world with the future naming conventions, and also if you wanted to then work together at some point to come up with new names for things that have previously used the Draconic naming convention.
I think that is actually a really good idea because, as you said, that people of the world now are starting to find their way and starting to move away from like dragon speak and from like the influence of like the world dragons and like the old beings. I think it would be great to move forward in a sense to where the people of the world are going to start naming that a more like using more conventional names for the region that they're in, for their lands, for their cities. So yeah, I would totally be down for that.
Right on. So I'll put together a list of the things that have Draconic names. It's mostly just continent names, and it's really only 3 or 4 of them that are Draconic focused. But then once we have that list, we can work together to come up with more regional names that make sense for those areas. Like I've been working a lot on the continent of Icarus, which is where Sonata takes place. And I've started to name the locations on that continent based on the history. Like there's one part of the continent that is very Elvish based in its history. So a lot of the places around there have Elvish names. Some areas that are more human based have human sounding names, that type of thing. So we can work together on that in the future. I think that'll be a fun thing to do.
Siva, the Draconic naming convention was pretty much any time we created a new continent for a new campaign. The continent itself was pretty much using the influence of like the Skyrim Thunes, the Skyrim dragon speech. There is a Thune translator out there that we would go and we would use some sort of description as to what this what aspects sort of influenced the creation of this influenced the creation of the continent, like the land in campaign 3, which is Shul.
Campaign 3 is
no,
Odag.
No, Odag. Campaign 4 is Shul.
Shul Gavon.
Oh, is it Shul Gavon?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shul Gavon, yeah. Which like is pretty much Cradle of Earth. If you were to translate it into like a more common tongue, it would translate into something as like Cradle of Earth or the Cradle of Earth.
Sorry, real quick, just correction. Shul Gavon is the Vampire Isles.
Yeah, Vampire Isles.
And Junar Goal is
Junar Goal is Cradle.
Junar Goal is yes.
Yeah. Am I crazy? I get that wrong?
And no. Because we also briefly mentioned Odag. Odag roughly translated to burning snow.
Yeah. Which, if you remember Odag, the the Bleeding Chasm, which was just that continuous flow of open lava that just flowed between the main portion of Odag and then the peaks that were above it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much where it got its name from.
Yeah.
So it's always, it's some sort of like draconic translation of something very literal about the continent that just pretty much gives it its name.
It was in a perpetual state of snow too. Poor
Mhm.
Kevin didn't want to wear shoes.
It's now no longer in a state of perpetual snow. It is now.
That's true.
It actually now has its own climate
great.
because the Pretender is no longer just burying everything under blankets of snow.
Yep.
I missed the perpetual snow.
I don't.
That was another fun battle. Ugh, so many fun boss battles. But yeah, I think with that, since we've kind of reached the 2-hour mark, obviously we always have so much we want to say. Sometimes we'll even go back, say like, hey, we're going to continue this topic. But I think for now, what we're going to do is going to go ahead and wrap this up for this episode. So thank you guys so much for coming back. Because we have dual shows on Saturdays going forward. This used to be the first Saturday of every month. We're going to push it to the first Sunday of every month. That way, we don't work ourselves to the bone or do this too terribly late, because we already have 2 shows on Saturdays. So, we'll go ahead and close out now, as we'll do our little spiel where we do have several shows on this channel. We do have Monday with our longest running show, Destiny Forged, our campaign run by Rhojin. Then we have our alternating Tuesday game, which is our Star Wars 5e Tales of the Outer Rim, run by Tiltbot. That will be not this upcoming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday and every other Tuesday. Then we have our 2 alternating shows on Thursday. We have Mass Effect Horizons, run by me. And then February 19th is when we're going to start up our alternating Thursday show, again known as A New Era, which is what we talked about today, kind of going back to a continent that we have known, or maybe you don't know. We're all going to discover together, which will still be really cool. It's Cliff Gaming. Thank you so much for that raid. Welcome. And then we have our alternating Saturday shows, where we have our Withered Wastes Southern Frontier show run by Rhojin midday, and then that evening we have our Vigilant 6 superhero kind of homebrew show with Rhojin running. Do we know when that's coming back? It has been on a temporary hiatus.
That is something I need to speak to all of you about. The reason that the hiatus is continued is because of reasons that some of you know, not because of the game or any of the effects. Not something I'm going to announce here on stream, as it is like personal issues for a player. So we are gonna, I'm gonna talk to you guys about that in DMs, but when it returns, it returns.
Okay. And then our alternating Saturday shows, we do have our Bridgerton inspired show called The Downfall of Propriety. I always keep want to call it Downton Abbey. I don't know why. It's just similar. Downfall of
Similar
Propriety.
vibes, yeah.
It's similar vibes.
If Downton Abbey was a murder mystery, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Think like 1800s murder mystery, sophisticated society, inspired D&D campaign run by Malls. And then that evening we have our Daggerheart campaign, City of Redemption, run by Rhojin. Both of those shows will be this next Saturday. And then we have our now has returned every Sunday, our Wayward Wanderers Extinction Curse campaign, which is a Pathfinder campaign run by Azarin. And then, of course, this show is now officially back the first Sunday of every month with our Behold lore. So we will see you guys. Oh, yep.
And real quick, previously this show has also been available in audio podcast format. That was getting quite expensive to maintain.
Really?
Podcasting is a fucking money sink, dude. But yes, it was getting quite expensive to maintain with very little return. However, I am exploring other options for self-hosting all of our stuff. So if and when that comes to fruition, we will let you know.
Okay, perfect. Otherwise, in the meantime, we do have them on our YouTube channel if you ever want to revisit some of our old campaigns, current campaigns, and the show.
I do got one question. We should, or it's a statement. We should probably do a raid since we are heading out, and It's Cliff Gaming was really cool to raid us, so we could send their group and our group over to raid somebody else, so we can just keep this train going.
Yeah, let's do it. Fox, you want to set us up?
Sure. I think I
Fox,
actually
do
have
the thing.
somebody right here.
I haven't done it in so long. I don't remember how to do it.
As soon as Twitch stops shoving ads down my throat, I can verify if this is a person we want to raid or not.
This is fair. But yeah, while he's setting that up, like I said, if you want to revisit any of our campaigns or lore show, both currently running or in the past, we do have them set up on our YouTube channel. Just type in Behold Roleplay, all one word, and we're the first one that pops up. So it'll be exciting. And then we have been talking about it. Who knows when it will happen? Probably in the next year or two. But we have been hounding, and he has been recently compliant. But we will be doing a Sonata campaign when Mass Effect is done.
Yes, a full-fledged, open-ended campaign. It is in the works.
It's going to be exciting.
So I think we are going to send everybody over to Marquee Gaming, who is on session 128 of their campaign.
Damn.
That's great. So yeah, we're going to go over here and raid them. Otherwise, you guys have a fantastic night. We'll see you guys later.